Our speaker, Mr. Dinesh Babu, our advisor, Dr. G. Samanthan, and all the participants for the day 5 session. I would like to request our advisor to introduce and invite our speaker. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dana. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Dinesh. Good morning, all the attendees. We have some problem in the network, that's why there was a little delay. Otherwise, we are getting on well. I take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Dinesh Babu of Megger. He is the application and product manager of Asia Pacific and South Asia with Megger. Earlier, he was lead application manager and in GE, and earlier he was in ABB as commissioning engineer, and prior to that he was in Alstom as testing engineer from 2006. He has taken his PhD in power systems protection from with the external guide of by he is a professional member from IEEE senior member and SIGRE CBP member, and his publications in SIGRE, IET, IEEE, PEC, PAC World are all well recognized. His key achievements are pioneered engineering of stator rotary earth fault with subharmonic injection at NTPC Ramagundam 500 megawatts machine in 2014. He commissioned GE's first synchrophaser at WRLDC in 2012. He commissioned India's first IEC 61850 230 kV substation at TNAB Siruseri in June 2006. He has engineered more than 100 busbar protection schemes in India, and he is power protection and control engineering expert in Syria, Taiwan, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia. With this brief introduction, I hand over the platform to Dr. Dinesh. Sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samandam. It's a pleasure to have this discussion. So here we will share all the information which I have the opportunity to gain experience in the industry when I was working there. So many photos I would be sharing, which we took during the time of commissioning. So that's why I would be able to share some real photos. Because we normally are not permitted to take any photos in a live substation. So let me start the session now so that it's planned for 1.5 hours, so I can complete by 11:30. So let me share my screen now. Hope my voice is audible and clear. You can reply with a yes in the chat window.
Yes,
if
sir.
you have questions during the session, feel free to key in the questions in the chat window. So at the end of the session, we have 15 minutes to half an hour, depending on the number of questions. We can go through it one by one. So I will be reading the question as well as the answer so that everyone can understand the question as well as what is the response that we are discussing. Since more number of participants are available, it would be difficult to unmute everyone and have a discussion. It would provide a lot of disturbance and echo. So let me start the session currently. This session is on smart substations, IEC 61850 automation or process bus, or you can also say digital substations. All these are different names, but the solution what we are going to discuss is only one and the same for all these terminologies. So this is a fundamental session. When we talk about the latest technology, it's the fundamental, like the Ohm's law, Kirchhoff's law, still remains untouched. So it's only how we are giving the communication technology and doing certain things on top of the fundamental. But how these things evolved? What is the need for having the latest technology? So in power systems, if we start reading, especially in the protection area, we would come across this IEC 61850. This is something which, the current industrial standards is very keenly discussing about. I'm not sure if the engineering college syllabus is updated to this level. Maybe at least the ME syllabus in power systems should be having a detailed subject on 61850. So in industry, this acts like a fundamental requirement. So what is this 61850? Why this is required? What is the advantage that it is going to provide? So that's the agenda for this session, which would take around 1.5 hours to discuss. So starting from now, maybe 1 hour 15 minutes. So let me move on to the first presentation slide. Okay. So before going directly into the 61850 and the latest advancements, how I want to discuss this is like taking you for an industrial visit, a virtual tour to a substation to understand what is existing in the substation currently, what are the facilities available, what are the drawbacks, and how we are going to overcome the drawbacks using this latest technology. So here we can see substation overview, single line diagram, parts of a substation like switchyard equipment, control room, protection equipments, copper saving techniques, I square R loss reduction. So why we transmit power in high voltages, customer requirements. So users, who is a customer? So we are all users, we are all customers because we are using power in our house. Conventional panel solutions. Then we move on to an area called 61850. So if you see this, I think most of this might be in your engineering syllabus in the initial part. What I am going to cover is not something which is available in the books. It's just a different way of looking at it. We are going to see photos, real photos taken from industries. So let's start with the substation overview. 230/110 kV substation. So we are going to enter into one substation. A substation consists of two areas. One is called as the control room. The left side, the pink building that you see, this is the control room. And the other one is the switchyard, the right side, what you see here. So what is a control room and what is a switchyard? So let's see one by one. First, let's enter into the control room. So when we enter into any substation, the first thing that we see is the single line diagram. So this is a single line diagram for this particular substation. So we normally have the legend available in all the single line diagrams with the picture. So we can correlate this and we can identify 4 230 kV incoming lines are available with a bus bar, 230 kV bus bar. 2 auto transformers, a 110 kV bus bar, and 8 outgoing feeders. So let's remember this single line diagram at least for the next half an hour, so that when we are moving on further, we will get a clear picture on what we are discussing. To 4 230 kV incoming lines, 2 auto transformers, 230/110 kV, and 8 110 kV outgoing feeders. The box is a circuit breaker. So you can see here the breakers. HV breaker, SC breaker, this is breaker, this is a bus section breaker, And here you have a bus section, but there is no breaker. It's just an isolator. Okay, let's remember this and move on. Other than the single line diagram, what are the things that are available in the control panel? We have a control panel, several panels, battery charger, SCADA system, cable ducts from switchyard, air conditioner, operator's table with communication facility. Okay, so what is this control panel and what is this relay panel? Of course, the other things are very easy. What is a battery? It's a DC source to power up something, and that something is actually the relay. So with battery, we power up the relays. And once you have battery, you need battery charger. So a charging system for supporting the battery. So SCADA system. So these 4 areas we will come back. Now we will see control and relay panel in detail. What is a control panel? A panel which is used to control is called as the control panel. So what do we control? We control the equipments in the switchyard, like isolators, breakers, earth switch. So you can see here from this control panel, what are the list of things, equipments available. There is a mimic. A mimic is a representation of a part of the single line diagram. Therefore, this is a mimic, the green color one. Some switches are there. These are called as TNC switches. Trip and close, TNC. It is used to operate the isolator and breaker. You have some LED indications. This is to show us whether the switch is in open position or closed position. Then you have the metering screens, where you can see whether voltage is available, current is available, power flow is available or not. All this information you can see. And annunciation panel. So this is the annunciator window. This gives information to the user about what is happening in the system. If a relay trips, there is an annunciation. If the breaker is operated, there is an annunciation. If your system is healthy, that is also an annunciation. So depending on the system condition, the color also may change. Maybe orange color, red for trip, green for healthy. Like that, you can have different color indications. You also have an energy meter, which is shown in the bottom. So this is the list of equipments available in control panel, or this is the functions of a control panel. It is used to control the isolators and breakers, and to control them, you need a clear indication of many things. So to give that indication, we have all these equipments. These are TTBs, test terminal blocks. It is like you can open this, isolate the current and voltage from the field, and you can inject secondary values directly here and test the energy meter. So we cannot open the CT secondary. So there is a looping which is available, by which the CT secondary would be shorted, and then we can work in the system. So let me move on. More control panels, 230 kV side panels, synchronization panels. Okay. So we have been doing this in lab on dark lamp method, bright lamp method, like this different ways. So what we do in synchronization is we have to verify same voltage, same frequency, and same phase angle. Then only we can close the breaker, so that both sides of the breaker should be synchronized to ensure that we have this synchronization panel. Okay, a sample close-up look. You can see this green light is glowing. So green light glows means it's an indication that the breaker is open. So this is for breaker, and this is for isolator 89A and 89B. So I'm using some numbers like 89. This is nothing but the ANSI code. ANSI means American National Standard Institute. ANSI has given codes for all the equipments and protection system in power system. So if you Google ANSI, you will get all the details. What are the list of ANSI codes available? So there are total 95 numbers. That means you can say there are total 95 protection system. So the syllabus for power system protection is only 95, because globally ANSI code has given only 95 protection systems. So out of this 95, several protection functions are main protection and several are backup. For example, 89 stands for isolator, 52 stands for breaker. So these are not major protection functions. These are functions which are used to assist the protection function. 25 means synchronization check. So synchronization check is a control function, not a protection function. So it's a very important area to understand in power system protection. In fact, the first lesson for a power system protection student is the ANSI codes understanding. So based on that, I have been talking like 89A, 52, 89B like this. This may be 89L and 89T like transfer isolator. Bus A isolator 89A, bus B isolator 89B. Like this it goes on. We also have some additional switches here. So this understanding is also very important. Whenever you want to operate the breaker, we use this switch also as an interlock. So when we move on further, like if you are watching a television, you can operate the television either from your remote control, or you can also go in front of the TV and press the button and operate. In the same way, when you are operating the breaker, you can operate either from this panel, or you can also operate from SCADA system. The SCADA system is called as a remote control operation. Somebody operating from remote from a far away location. For television, it's not a problem because both the people who are trying to operate may be sitting in the same hall within 15 meters or something. So you know who is going to operate. Whereas in SCADA system, it may be far away. Somebody may be operating from a different location, and somebody may be standing in front of the panel and operating. This kind of operation may result in some kind of problem. Now let us see an example. This will make us understand what is the problem that we foresee. We all know an interlock that when a earth switch is in closed condition, or when an isolator is in closed condition, the breaker can be operated.
You are going to be sell that API to the ATM. It depends their business needs. So that was a API. So without this API, you are ordering.
Hello.
Is there any question? I was hearing some voice.
No, sir. I thought actually it was no, from your side.
Okay. So we were discussing about the need for this switches. Okay, let me come back to that example. When the circuit breaker is in closed condition, we cannot operate the isolator because we very well know that isolator is an offline device and circuit breaker is an online device. This is case one. Okay, let's see case one. Case two, another story. The isolator operating time is around 15 to 20 seconds. It's a slow mechanical movement and it will close. The breaker is a high-speed operation device. It operates in about 100 milliseconds. Even high-speed SF6 breakers will trip in 40 milliseconds. 25 to 40 milliseconds is the operating time in 400 kV or 765 kV breakers. So the second case or story that we told was the operation time of isolator and breaker. The first story that we told was the interlock between the breaker and isolator. When the breaker is in closed condition, you cannot operate the isolator. Now, let us merge these things together and create a situation. So the situation is like this. Let us assume the isolator is open and the breaker is open. Now, someone standing in front of the panel knows this isolator is open and the breaker is open. He tries to close the isolator. Now the isolator takes 20 seconds to close. So it slowly moves along. Now imagine that someone sitting in the SCADA center, remote location, he has directly given a close command to the breaker. What will happen to the breaker? It will close in 100 milliseconds, which is faster than the isolator closing time. Now what happened? Breaker will be closed before the isolator. Therefore, we are bypassing or we are not following or not complied to the logic that was discussed earlier. To overcome this, there are a lot of different ways of handling it. You can create some kind of DC path can be eliminated. So only when the breaker is open, then only the DC for isolator can be permitted. Or you can create some soft logics using a AND gate and ensure that you can do this. So, but the conventional method, what I am talking, all these gates and all, is the latest technology. Earlier days, they were not having all these things. So what they do was, they used a switch like this called as CP SCADA switch. That means when the switch is in SCADA position, only the operator from remote location can operate. Local person cannot do any operation. When the switch is in CP position, control panel position, only the person standing in front of the panel can operate. No one from SCADA can operate. So this is the interlock. And to ensure that, when it is in SCADA position, some operator should not come and immediately put it in CP and start its operation. Therefore, there is a key. They will lock it and they will put it in a board. And when you want to take the key, you have to get permission from the SCADA system engineer. So this is how the local remote switch works. The next is synchronization. Okay, synchronization, sync off, sync on. Now, why is this required? We know that when you want to close the breaker, synchronization is required. You have a separate panel for synchronization. Then why should I switch off synchronization? There is a provision to close the breaker by switching off synchronization. Okay, let us see an example. There are 4 conditions for a breaker. Let us assume a breaker is lying between a bus bar and a transmission line, like this. Okay, this breaker is between a bus bar and a transmission line. From here, this is a line. Now there are 4 conditions. One is both sides are dead. That is, no voltage available both sides. Second condition, live bus, dead line. Third condition, dead bus, live line. Fourth condition, live bus, live line. So there are 4 conditions in a real-time scenario. Now, synchronization is required only for the 4th condition, when both sides are live. If one side is dead or both sides are dead, there is no need to synchronize. Or even if you try to synchronize, it will not permit us to synchronize because the other end is not having voltage, frequency and phase angle. Therefore, only during live bus and live line condition, we will use synchronization. Other types of situations, we would be keeping it in off position. Okay, moving on. These are the closer look of the current ammeter and the watt meter, megawatt, MVAR, reactive power, active power is measured here. The switches to accept, reset and do a lamp test in the annunciation window. Okay, so that's about the control panel. Now moving on to relay panel. What we see here is the relay panel. A panel which has the relay is called as the relay panel. And here we have a lot of technologies. Relay itself is a huge technology where people are working for 30-40 years. So it's a in-depth subject, very interesting one. And that's my area of work experience also. So what we see here is the numerical relay. Several relays are available. It is to ensure that we provide sufficient amount of backup protection. If one relay fails, there should be an alternate way to provide backup because the system cannot be left unprotected. These equipments may be cheap products like 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs or 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs, depends on the system. But why I am calling it cheap is I am comparing it with the products available in the switchyard. There we have equipments which are crores of rupees. 5 crore, 10 crore, a generator, a transformer. So this small product which is roughly in the range of 5 lakhs or 10 lakhs, this is protecting an equipment of several lakhs rupees. 5 crore, 10 crore equipments it is protecting. So since the work that it is doing is so important, it is mandatory to run the protection system, or you can say that you cannot run your system without the protection. If the protection system fails, maybe a relay fails, immediately we have to switch off the transmission line or bypass the transformer. switch off the transformer if your protection relay fails. These are all the protection philosophies. So these protection philosophies states that we should have multiple number of relays to protect. So like this, you have main 1 relay, main 2 relay, another main 2 relay, or you can call this as with a different name, BCU, a BPU. So what is BCU, BPU? All these things we will discuss in the further slides. This is a busbar protection panel. You can see here that we don't have numerical relays. These are all static relays. So in relay subjects, power system protection, I think we have a subject in engineering. So in that area, we study about electromechanical, static relay, and different types of relays, and finally we end up in numerical relay. But in industries, we actually start with the numerical relay because these are all very, very important fundamentals. However, currently we have only numerical relays. These are very, very small quantity, and it is just a plug and play. You just put it and some settings are there. The major protection system is eliminated from this area, and it has been embedded into this area. So the main focus is actually in the numerical systems, numerical relays. So let's take a deeper look. This is how the relay panels appear. Okay, so let me move on. So now we are moving on to the switchyard equipments. So in switchyard, what are the things that we see? Bus bar, isolator, breaker, earth switch, transformer, CT, PT, CVT, line reactor, wave trap, isolators, and all these things. So let's just directly see the pictures. A bus bar. So when we see a structure like this, it is difficult to differentiate between which is a bus bar and which is a transmission line. So normally the definition of the bus bar very clearly helps us to identify this. Bus bar is actually carrying the total current of the substation, whereas a transmission line will carry only the current of that particular line. If we have 10 lines and one bus bar will carry the current of all the 10 lines. So it's a common node which carries all the current as per the definition. So when you have multiple conductors compared to the other one, a bus bar will have more number of conductors. So if a line is having 2 conductors, bus bar will have 4 conductors. If a line is having 1 conductor, bus bar will have 2 conductors. So in this comparison, we can easily identify which is a bus bar. So you can see the bus bar here. This is how the transmission line tower enters. It's a L-shaped angle. So this is an acute angle. This is an obtuse angle. So you can see in acute angle, there are 2 insulators. Obtuse angle has a bigger insulator. This is to ensure that this loop doesn't touch the tower during wind loads. Whereas here the loop is very small, so it cannot go and touch. That is why we have 3 insulators here. So from the tower, the transmission line enters into the substation. This is the isolator. Earlier I was telling a story about movement of isolator takes 15 to 20 seconds. So this rotates, this gets into this arm, this end gets into this arm. So the movement time is 15 to 20 seconds. It moves into a CT, current transformer. So you can see here, these isolators are yellow and blue phase, red, yellow, blue. And the CT, so it's easy to identify. The CT is in series. So you can see here the transmission line is broken. It enters into one equipment and moves out. And the secondary will be here through cables. CT secondary. So this is the CT primary. Bus bar. Again CT. Now you can see this is PT because it is in parallel to the system. So it's easy to identify the difference between a CT and a PT. And this is a transformer with bushings, HV bushing, R phase, Y phase, blue phase. This is a oil cooled air blast transformer. So just by looking at the equipments which are available.
Hello.
Air blast means it should have fans.
Hello.
Oil cooled means it should have a conservator tank with fins in it. So
Excuse
if
me,
there is
sir.
no fans, it is just oil cooled transformer. If it
Hello, sir.
Yes, madam.
Sir, can you use the highlighter pen so that it would be better rather than moving with the cursor? If you could use the highlighter. It is at the bottom actually.
Okay, okay.
Ah,
Okay, I'll do that, madam.
ah.
if it has fans and no oil cooling mechanism, it is just air blast transformer. So by looking at this equipment, we can say what type of transformer it is. And this is the LV bushing that you see here. This is the earth rod, silica gel, absorption of moisture, breather. So this is like, it will become blue in color when more moisture is absorbed. So what we do is we will have another set of silica gel as spare in the stores. Once it becomes blue, we will take it out, put new silica gel, and this we will keep it in sun. And the moisture will be dry, ready for reuse. Conservator tank, where the oil is kept. This is the main tank. This is the conservator tank. And between this, we have the Bockol's relay. So how to identify Bockol's relay? You can see this one is there, this is there, this is there. So Bockol's relay is actually a relay. It has to trip the breaker. If it has to trip the breaker, there should be control cable wiring to it. So you can see there is a cable coming here, connected here. That means this is the Bockol's relay. So it's a simple way of identifying. A closer look of Bockol's relay. It's a gas actuated relay. So how it works, we very well know. Whenever there is something happening inside the transformer, some kind of electrical disturbances or changes or insulation failure or anything, the first thing that will happen is some kind of gas will be bubbled. And by nature, gas is lighter than oil, so it moves up. It moves to the topmost level. And that topmost level is the conservator tank. So in the path, we have the Bockol's relay. So the gas has to move through the Bockol's relay. So once it moves through the Bockol's relay, what will happen is the relay will identify it and trip it. This is not yet replaced by a numerical relay. It is still a gas actuated relay and it is a mechanical relay. It will be physically present here. This is another conservator tank, small one. This is used for OLTC, on-load tap changer. This is the breaker switch. Okay, closer look. Spring charge, spring discharge. So what is the meaning of spring charge and spring discharge? So whenever we want to operate the breaker, there is a high tension spring which is available inside. A motor is used to compress the spring. It is, we cannot compress it with our hand. It is so hard. So we use a motor to compress the spring. Once the spring is compressed, it is said to be in charged condition. So when we release the charge, it will immediately move at a speed of 50 to 100 milliseconds. That's why the breaker operation is so fast, because there is a spring mechanism available inside. So when we want to operate the breaker, the first thing is the spring has to be charged. If the spring has to be charged, there has to be a motor which is working. If motor has to work, there has to be auxiliary AC supply to power up the motor. If the motor power supply is not available or the motor is not working, then spring will not be charged. If the spring is not charged, it is not fit to operate. Therefore, the breaker will not be able to trip even if the relay issues a trip command. So they have to check whether spring is charged or discharged. This is one of the mandatory closing or opening interlock for the breaker. So suppose breaker is closed and line is charged. Suddenly the spring is discharged. Now what happens? The relay will know this and it will ensure that the upstream breaker is stripped for a fault. Okay, this is the breaker position. So breaker off means breaker is open, on means breaker is closed, and you can see here you have a counter. The number of times the breaker is operating, that counter is also available. So maybe they have some standards to ensure that. This depends on why I am using the word maybe, because depends on the type of breaker and the voltage level. After X number of operations or after N number of operations, the breaker should be taken out for maintenance, periodic overhauling. In that kind of situation, we need to know how many times it has operated. So for that, we need a counter. Okay, coming back to the single line diagram. So what we have seen in the half an hour is not something new or great technology. This is there for several, many years, several years. So we have a control panel, we have a relay panel, we have all the equipments in the switchyard. The control and relay panel together actually control the system, and we are able to operate the system perfectly. Now, whatever we have been discussing so far is the existing technology. Now let us see what are the problems or drawbacks and how we can overcome that. And that is where we are going to discuss about the involvement of global standard called as IEC. Okay, let me move to the next slide. What users need? It's very simple actually. Like when we are trying to use a new mobile phone, the first 1 week we will suffer a lot. We don't know where the contacts are, we don't know which button we should operate. Then after 1 week or 2 weeks, we will become familiar, and then we will not be interested to change our mobile because we are familiar with the features. Okay. Now this is a story for what we are having in our hand, our personal equipment. But when we are talking about a relay, this is not so. But what customer wants is the same thing. He wants it to be very simple. He wants it to be compact. He wants it to be simple. Less copper wiring, because he wants it to troubleshoot easily. If something is not working, how to identify where the problem is. For that, it should be less copper wiring should be there. Then only he can identify all these things. So imagine, I still remember the experiments which I was doing in ECE labs. So many wires are there in the breadboard. It is difficult to troubleshoot. So provided if we do a proper wiring, or if we are able to reduce the wiring itself and still achieve the same technology, then it's very simple actually. Like simulating it in MATLAB or PSCAD or PSpice, it's very easy because the path that we draw is not in a jumbled format. If it is jumbled, it's very difficult. So these are the main criteria which the user wants. Today, a user may be in substation 1. Tomorrow, he will go to substation 2. He will go to substation 3, because there are some key teams who are in charge for protection, who are actually in charge for an entire zone. They don't work only for one substation. There may be 10 substations under one engineer's control. 10 substations means in each substation there may be 3-4 different types of manufactured relays. So that means 10 substations he has to control, means every relay he will become, he wants a very clear, simple solution, so that wherever he goes, he is able to adapt and identify what kind of relay it is, or how to configure, what are the ways to troubleshoot. So that is why this is very, very important. So when we are actually thinking ourselves like an operator, we will really feel this. That's why I told the example of mobile. So just imagine ourselves, we are going to use every day one new mobile. You have a gift like that. Let us say every day you can use a new mobile. You are not supposed to use the same mobile tomorrow. We will not feel that it is a gift actually, because every day we have to adapt how to use this, where to press this. So it is not an easy task. It's the same way for an operator. Every day he is actually operating a different relay. That's why these are the major things which a user wants. Accurate fault information. Yeah, this is very, very important. I can tell an example. Like 20 years back, I still remember in my childhood days when there is a power supply failure in our house. Morning, if it fails, we know that evening only it will come. It will be for at least half day or 3-4 hours. There will not be any power supply. But nowadays you can see, other than scheduled shutdowns, if there is a accidental, like there is a fault in the system, if you call EB, they may say that there is a fault, you have to wait for some time. Then within half an hour, you are getting back the supply. Most of the time, Now, what is the difference? 20 years back, the network was more simple. Now it is more complicated. You have so many 230, 110 kV substations. The network is more complicated. Then how we are able to restore the power supply so fast? This is the understanding that we have to see. We are using the same relay earlier days also. Sorry, not the same relay. The same technology. That is impedance protection. Voltage, current, it will measure, it will identify impedance. When there is a fault, it will trip. Now also the same thing. So what the current technology does is, it provides more information after tripping. Example, let us say there is a 100-kilometer transmission line. In that transmission line, suddenly there is a fault. Okay. In 1980, the relay used to identify the fault and trip. In 2020, even now, the relay will identify the fault and it will trip. Okay. In both places, the tripping is done. Now, what next? We have to identify where exactly the fault is located in that 100-kilometer transmission line. So how can we do that? We have to have a vehicle, a relief vehicle, where a team from electricity board used to travel below the tower. Tower by tower, they will travel for the 100 kilometers, and maybe let us say the fault is at 40 kilometers from our substation. We will identify that there is a fault at 40 kilometers from our substation. This is the work of the gangman. Now let us think. 40 kilometers, when we are traveling in highway, we can maybe reach in half an hour, but we are traveling in a place where there is no road below the tower. And also we have to inspect every time when we are traveling. So hardly you would be traveling at 10 or 15 kilometers per hour. So that means 3-4 hours after only you will be able to identify where exactly the fault is. And then we will attend the fault, put back the system in service. However, currently the relay will trip, but in addition, it gives these things: DR, FL, SOE. DR means disturbance recorder. FL means fault locator. SOE means sequence of events. With these three informations together, you will get accurate information. So what does that mean? When the relay trips, it says that 40 kilometers from our substation, in our phase, the jumper is broken. Just imagine if a relay is giving you this information, how fast you can restore the system. So this is the difference between an electromechanical and static relay compared to a numerical relay. A numerical relay can record information. It can communicate that information to a different location. And moreover, numerical relay means it's like a computer. So if you give RYB current and voltage to it, you can mathematically convert it to symmetrical components. The moment you convert it to symmetrical components, you know better what are the things that you can do. You can do, if you say that you cannot do something, it may be the limitation of our imagination. If we say that we cannot do something, somebody else can say that he can do something with that information. So that symmetrical components availability in numerical relay is actually the beauty of that technology. With the availability of symmetrical components, so many new algorithms, logics, and beautiful features have been developed. And this is what we are talking about: advancements in power system protection using numerical relays. And this is something which we, from industry side, we would really like to contribute, working with the academic institutes to ensure that, if your team is interested to set up a lab, a numerical power system protection lab, many staffs are willing to do that. But the question is, how do we get training on the products? After buying, it should not be an exhibition or showcase equipment. So getting trained on the products, having a hands-on session, what are the list of experiments that we can do it? This is something which is very, very interesting. And in this regard, if anyone is interested, after the session, we can definitely help you out in this area. Okay, let me move on. So accurate fault information is something which gives so much idea, so much benefits to the user. Next is technical issues, support and training. So these are all the areas where the user wants. So let's move on and see how this works. We are going to see the copper saving technique. So copper saving technique, We know why we are transmitting power in high voltages. It's because we want to save copper loss, square R loss. This is in the primary side. Now we are going to talk in terms of secondary. Okay, what we can do inside the control room and what we can do in the switchyard, that is outside the control room, to save copper. Or you can say, how do we achieve all these things? See, whatever you see here, this is only the latest technology. There is a solution which is going to do all these things together in a single way. That is called as a digital substation or smart substation, or IEC 61850 solution. So let us see what they are going to do. Inside a control room, we already saw what are these? Control panel, eliminate the control panel. Interpanel wiring, eliminate or reduce the interpanel wiring. And also there is panel wiring, reduce the panel wiring. So these are the three things that you can do inside a control room. How we can do this? Use a Bay control unit. Use goose communication techniques. Remove auxiliary relays and use inbuilt features of numerical relays. Okay, we already know what is a control panel, what is a relay panel. Now we are telling that we don't need a control panel. Then why we discuss the control panel? It is because only when we understand what is a control panel, we can eliminate it. Therefore, we discussed about control panel. So in the current scenario, control panel is not required. We are eliminating. It is just fundamental theory for understanding. In real time, control panel is no more in use. We will be eliminating it. How do we eliminate it? We use BCU. What is a BCU? BCU stands for Bay Control Unit. Next is reduce interpanel wiring. What is interpanel wiring? Okay, there are a lot of panels which we saw in that picture. Between each panel, there will be a lot of communication. That is, a lot of information has to be transferred. So that information transfer is actually through cables, copper cable. Like earth switch is wired in panel 1. In the panel 2, I want to close the breaker. Panel 1 is having the busted status. Now in panel 2, when I want to do close command for the breaker, I have to ensure that my earth switch is open, because breaker can be closed only when the earth switch is open. But earth switch is in the panel 1, breaker is in panel 2. Now how do we communicate? So the status of earth switch has to be wired to panel 2. This is called as interpanel wiring. It's just an example of interpanel wiring. Like this, huge amount of wiring will be there. Maybe hundreds of cables would be between panel 1 and panel 2, panel 2 and panel 3, etc. So when we reduce all these things, the panel becomes compact. Next is reduce panel wiring. Remove auxiliary relays and use inbuilt features. Okay, so when we understand numerical relay, we will understand this better. Moving on, outside the control room, what we can do? Reduce cable. That is the only thing that we can do currently. We cannot eliminate transformer, we cannot eliminate CTPT, etc. So currently we can only reduce the cable or eliminate cable to a certain extent. Solution: kiosk system, process bus system. So these are the two solutions that we have. So let us see one by one. Eliminating control panel. This is the control panel. This is the relay panel. In control panel, we saw what are the features. Now let us see metering, annunciation, control, switches, mimic, SCADA. These are all the functionalities that we saw in a control panel. This can be eliminated with a single bay control unit. Okay, when we say this, the first questions that comes is, what is the cost? A control panel may be in the cost of 30-40,000, or maximum, let us say 50,000, one control panel. Whereas this bay control unit is 4-5 lakhs. So when I want, let us say in a substation, I have 100 panels, 50 control panel, 50 relay panel. You are saying that we can eliminate the 50 control panel. Okay, but the cost of the bay control unit is going to be very expensive compared to the control panel. Is it really feasible? This is the question. Okay, the answer is this is a cheaper solution. When we look at replacing one control panel with a bay control unit, it will appear to be expensive. However, you just see the overall cost. Number one, we have eliminated 50 panels. 50 panels consumes huge amount of space. So when the space is reduced, the substation construction cost itself comes down. We may make a smaller control room. You don't need a big control room. The second, the numerical technology, we all already saw how fast it will record information and it will communicate to restore the system back to service. That means when there is a fault and it trips, if it is a control panel, it only trips and it doesn't give any further information because it's electromechanical. No further communication is possible. Whereas in VCU, it transfers that signal to the load dispatch center, the SCADA operators. So your restoration will be very fast. So especially in power, if the breaker is open, every minute the manufacturer is losing money. So every minute maybe even crores of money, depends on the types of industry. If you go to a steel plant or oil extraction plant, even if equipment fails, they should not stop the process. So that much amount of revenue is generated for every minute. So it will be like, many plants are 24 hours continuous operated based on shift. Any half an hour, if there is a power outage, they will lose crores of money. And even if industries are having power shutdown, they may be penalized because they have to consume this much power. If they are not consuming because of their internal problems, they would be penalized by the utility. So when you compare all these costs, this is nothing. This is a very, very cheap solution compared to replacing a control panel with BCU. So this is how it works. This is the first option, use a BCU. The second, use interpanel wiring, eliminating the interpanel wire. We are going to use boost communication. So let us see. This is the single line diagram which we remembered. 4 incoming 230 kV line, 2 auto transformer and 8 outgoing 110 kV lines. These are the protection functions which are required to protect this transmission line. Sorry, this substation. For 230 kV lines, you need main 1 and main 2 distance, differential and restricted at fault, 110 kV busbar protection, distance protection for feeders, backup overcurrent at fault, and there are 15 bays. Therefore, 15 BCUs. Now, what is a bay? This is a bay. What I show here in the arrow mark. A bay is the breaker and the associated equipments together, isolator, earth switch, everything. This we call it as bay 1. Any number you can give. So here, just for example, I'm telling bay 1, bay 2, bay 3, bay 4. Like that, you can keep on giving the bay numbers. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So how many breakers are there? 15 breakers. So 15 bays. I did not calculate this because this is not a bay. There is no breaker. So even if there is a fault in that system, you cannot trip that particular area because isolator cannot trip for a fault. Therefore, there is no meaning in calling it as a bay and giving a separate protection and control for it. So when so many equipments are there are so lot of interlocks. These are the interlocks. Earth switch, isolator, breaker. We have a lot of interlocks. Then NIT, normal inter transfer logic schemes. LBB, local breaker backup. Busbar trip signals to all bays. External scheme status to protection relays. Carrier information, etc. So all these things require huge amount of interpanel wirings between the panels. We call this as interpanel. Now this can be replaced by a technique called goose? Okay, this is just a fundamental principle. This is a separate session actually. We discuss in detail in this session. In the current session, we are just trying to understand goose technology. Therefore, I am moving on. What is goose? Generic, object-oriented, substation event. This is actually defined in IEC 61850. The meaning is, we are actually thinking of, in the examples we discussed about status of the isolator and earth switch. Now, this isolator, breaker, all these things are called objects. That's why the second O, object. Object means isolator and breaker. This is as per the IEC definition. So this is a generic information. So the status of the isolator and breaker is actually a generic information which is pertaining to a specific substation. So that's why it's called as generic object-oriented substation event. It's actually an event. If you take an event record of a SCADA system or a relay, you will find that isolator open, isolator close, breaker open, breaker close, all these will be available in event. So where is this event located? In a substation. And what type of event it is? Object-oriented. So that's why it is called as generic object-oriented substation event. Now third, reduced panel wiring. Okay, let's see the numerical relay example. So these are the list of protections. It's a rough list. Actually, the list keeps changing depending on the specification of the utilities. So normally for a distance protection, we need distance, pilot aided, non-pilot aided, auto recloser, SOTF, power swing, trip circuit supervision, broken conductor. So, to name a few, we have written this. Each one is a different relay, relay 1, relay 2, relay 3, relay 4, etc. So in a panel, we will have several relays. But nowadays, you can see here, this is numerical relay. So many relays are there, electromechanical relays. Why should you have so many relays? Because one relay for each protection. That was the way it was. But currently, we can just use 1 or 2 relays. It has everything in it. Like you have your computer. Your computer can do everything. It can record video. You can use your computer like a calculator. Nowadays, we can use computer like phone, like what we are doing. Instead of talking in phone, we are talking in this kind of webinar. And we are also recording this webinar. So that means what? It can be used for recording purpose. And we can play back again for referencing. That means we are doing the work of a camera. Right? So everything integrated in a single equipment. Now, when we say this, there is the next question. What happens if it fails? Like, for example, if I have a separate camera, separate mobile phone, separate calculator, and separate laptop. So if one fails, still other things are there. But if the laptop fails, then everything is gone. So having everything together in one single box doesn't seem to be a foolproof system. This is the common point which comes to our mind. Okay, let's discuss about this. Now the question here is, you have separately a mobile phone, a conventional mobile phone, let us say, a camera separate, a calculator separate. Now suddenly your mobile phone failed. Can your calculator do the work of a mobile phone? We cannot do that. We cannot talk using calculator. We cannot record video using calculator, or we cannot calculate using the camera. Therefore, when there are different relays for each specific application, and if that relay fails, we are actually not having that particular protection. It's a drawback. Whereas a numerical relay, you have 2 laptops. One laptop fails, immediately you go for the other laptop. That means you have 100% redundancy. So that is what is implemented in numerical relay technology. What we do here is, instead of using 15 relays, electromechanical relays, we will use 2 or 3 numerical relays. One will stand as a backup, but each relay is 100% having all the protection functions. So if one relay fails, still 100% all the protection function is available in the system. This is the first point that we need to understand. Now let us see the second point. numerical relay has a inbuilt self-supervision feature. This is called as watchdog. What it does is, whenever the relay fails, it will immediately tell the user that it has failed. Whereas if an electromechanical relay fails, no one will know that it has failed. Unless there is a fault and the relay fails to operate, we will not come to know that the relay has failed. So that is the biggest advantage of numerical relay. It is self-supervision. If it fails, immediately it will tell you. Of course, you cannot compare the life of a numerical relay with the electromechanical relay. Electromechanical relay can work for 50 years or plus. Even now, when we move to some substations, we find some relays installed by before independence. Some relays installed before independence. Still, they are working perfectly. However, we are running another numerical system in parallel because they can only trip. They cannot give additional information. Whereas numerical relay, the maximum life would be 10 years. But after that, technology also will change. So we have to upgrade the entire system. So numerical life will be less, but the amount of work that it will do is extraordinary. It's like you cannot compare the earlier days black color telephone with our latest mobile phone maximum 2 years. That phone will work for a lifetime, but still we will be using only the mobile phone because technology lies here. So some of the commonly asked questions by industry, because we normally give this presentation for industrial engineers training. So to handle the frequently asked questions, I have raised some points. So I will not discuss in detail. Of course, if you have any specific questions, you can key in the chat window. Okay, from this, what we understand. What you see here is a conventional panel, relay panel. What we see here is the solution based on our discussion. We can eliminate all these relays and we can make the panel more compact. Okay, why I should make it compact? We already saw that is the customer requirement. So what we achieve by this? We will come back to the same example. 100 panels are there in a substation. 50 control panel, 50 relay panel. We already eliminated 50 control panel. That means 100 became 50. Now we are telling that the panel can be small. So if instead of making the panel small, you can have 2 bays in one panel. That means 50 will become 25. So just imagine, in the place where you had 100 panels, now we have only 25 panels. How compact it is. Maintenance, user friendliness, everything will be very easy. So these are the advantages which you get by implementing these 3 areas. Now let's see outside the control room what we can do. Reduce cable. Okay, let's see some examples. What is a SCADA system? Supervisory control and data acquisition. So what is the meaning of this? Data acquisition. What data we acquire? We acquire the status of isolator, breaker, power, active power, reactive power, voltage, current. So if you just visualize your control panel now, we can very clearly see I am recording current, I am recording voltage, I am recording power. So all these things we are actually having in the control panel. That is eliminated and it is currently available in our system. That means we are acquiring data. Next is supervisory control. You can supervise the status of isolator and breaker. You can control the isolator and breaker. So if you are able to do all these things in one single computer, it's called SCADA, supervise, control, and acquire data. An advancement in this is called as substation automation system. The difference is in SCADA, you can see everything, you can do everything. In substation automation system, you can see everything, it will automatically do everything which you will still be seeing. So in automation system, you can still do all the acquisitions. For example, whenever I want to talk to somebody, or let us say I want to read the current from a relay, I go to that relay and say, I go and choose that relay in my computer and say read current. Immediately it reads the current and shows in our screen. Now what happens? You have pressed the button read current and it is giving you that information. But without you pressing the button, if all the data is already pulled by that system and streaming the data is continuously available, and in the screen you are able to see everything, then it's an example for automation system. This is the difference of different layers: substation layer, substation automation system layer, SCADA layer, wide area networking layer, WAN. And above this we have synchrophasers, WAMPAC.
Hello. Sir?
Yes, madam.
We were not able to hear your voice now. Were you talking?
Yes, yes, yes.
Actually, it is in the slight different architectures, but we couldn't hear your voice then.
Oh, okay, okay.
Now it's okay. Sir, again, we are not able to hear you.
Yeah, now you are able to hear, ma'am?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I'm just adjusting the mic. I'm not sure if there is some loose contact.
Okay, okay.
Maybe just you can see. We will wait for some time. I will continue the session.
So still we are not able to hear you. Even the previous slide we did not hear you. Hello.
Yes, any questions are there?
No, even the previous slide we did not able to hear you.
Okay.
I mean, the history of protocols, even that we did not hear.
Just I will share now. Please check.
Okay, sir.
Simultaneously, because I think some problem with screen and I'm actually using an external mic, so there is only one socket in my laptop. Okay. Let me try again.
Have to check in that manual what is the Modbus memory map address or what is the address where this current is located and configure that current in our SCADA system. And the address will be different for voltage, frequency, everything will have a different address. Now, maybe you need 50 information from one relay. After some time, you would move on to relay 2. It may be from another manufacturer.
Hello.
That relay needs another 50 information, but all the address will be different. So if this continues, we will keep on working on different kinds of addresses. So if you have 10 types of relays, 10 into 50, 500 addresses we need to configure. It's not a small thing. It's a time-consuming and complicated activity. Whereas if it is a 650 compliant, you can say that it is plug and play. So this is just one example. Should not be assumed that this is the only advantage of 650. This is one major advantage, just for ease of understanding why it is required. Now let's move on. Different types of architectures. Okay, so let me explain this architecture. We have different relays. Okay, Ethernet switch, computers, printers, SCADA system, and your time synchronization. So these are relays. Actually, 2 stands for 200 kV, 1 stands for 110 kV. So in our example, we had 4 230 kV incoming lines and 8 110 kV lines. So that income 230 kV lines relays are here. 110 kV relays are here. 230 kV relays are connected to this Ethernet switch. 110 kV relays connected to this switch. These switches are in turn connected to another switch. This is a fiber optic cable, and this is a RJ45 cable, or it can also be fiber, but normally this will be of high speed, and this will not be as much speed as this because of the data. Because this is going to carry this data of one relay to the switch. This cable is going to carry the data of all the relays to the switch. So if it is like a 100 Mbps, this would be 1 Gbps. Or if this is 1 Gbps, this will be 2 or 4 Gbps. So it depends on the amount of data traffic. This also keeps on varying. These are located near the bay. We already saw what is a bay. So this is called as a bay switch, and this is located in the station. So it's called as a station switch, where the time synchronization equipment is connected. So time synchronization is another interesting, chapter, which we discuss in detail on various types of time synchronization on all these things. So whatever we are seeing now is just an overview. Maybe it is taking a lot of time to complete the overview itself, but each area which we discuss is actually a in-depth area in power system protection. This is where I was, telling you that we need to update the syllabus and have a separate elective subject, at least for ME students, to ensure that industry-ready engineers are being generated from college itself. So each area has to be framed as a separate syllabus, and interested students can be given an opportunity to read this with the required material at the college level itself. So if any of you are interested, I can help you out in framing the syllabus also. We have already worked in several institutes where the universities have the flexibility to write their own syllabus. So if it is deemed, I think we can definitely work together on this area. Okay, so coming back, this is 230 kV relays connected to this switch, 110 kV relays connected to this switch, and these switches are connected like this. This we call it as a ring topology. From here, it is connected to SCADA system. So let's understand this and we will move on. Different terminologies. Intelligent electronic device, ICD, CID, SCD, GOOST, GSSC. So in many times when a student is actually moving to these kind of companies for interviews, these are all some of the commonly asked interview questions. So these all has to be as part of the training session for students also. Okay, I'm not getting too deep into this. Let me move on to the next slide. Okay, kiosk. So in the earlier slide starting, I was telling in the switchyard pictures that there is something called kiosk. What is a kiosk? So this is called as a kiosk. A kiosk is a room which is kept in the switchyard. What is there inside the kiosk? The relay panel is there inside the kiosk. So this is how the kiosk will look. This is not a very latest technology. If you are having an opportunity to visit any power grid substation or even TNEB substations, but at the level of 400 kV and above, 765 kV like this, you will definitely find this kiosk available. Most of the substations after 2006, which were constructed, are with kiosk technology. I mean, when I say most of the substations, I mean 400 kV and above. Okay. Now this is a very, very important slide. It's like a climax for all whatever things that we have been discussing for the past 1 hour. We are going to conclude. A single line diagram. 4 230 kV incoming line, 2 auto transformer, 8 110 kV incoming line. Okay. We already saw the architecture. 2 switches, bay level, 230 kV, 110 kV, fiber optic cable, and this is station switch connected to SCADA system, GPS and LDC for gateway. Okay. In the previous photo, we saw what is a kiosk. Now this is what is there inside the kiosk. This also we have seen clearly in the photo earlier. Numerical relays. And you can see here this black color one. What is this? This is the Ethernet switch that you see here. Okay, these 3 boxes. This is the black color box that you see in this photo. Now, we are going to construct the substation. So let us construct. This is the compound wall of the substation. Control room. Substation automation system panel. We saw what is SAS. So there will be only one small panel that is called as SAS panel. Switchyard. 230 kV side, 110 kV side. Kiosk. This is what we saw in the previous slide. The room in the switchyard. These 2 are nothing but the Ethernet switches available in the bay. See, this is the black color one. This is the switch. This switch is this switch, or you can say this switch. This switch is this red switch. Pink switch. Pink switch is the station switch. So this switch is the pink switch. Now let us complete this architecture. Okay, so this is how we completed. What is this? FOC, fiber optic cable. So from this, what we understand, Between the control room and switchyard, there is only fiber optic cable. And that is what we were planning for in the initial slide. We want to eliminate the copper cable. Therefore, we have several advantages. This is the beauty of kiosk system. Now we have 10 more minutes. Now we are going to come to the final stage. That is, what is smart substation? So far, whatever we have seen is not a smart substation. These are all the benefits that we are going on adding, and we are trying to make it beautiful. How we are making it beautiful? By making it compact, by eliminating control panel, by reducing inter-panel wiring, by giving lot of informations, by using numerical relay technology, by eliminating copper cable. We did a lot of things. Still, it is not called as a smart substation. Now we are going to discuss a technology. This technology is going to change this. Now, before going to that, first we have to understand why this is not called a smart system. The reason is there are some disadvantages in kiosk system. So now let us see what are the disadvantages in a kiosk system. The second line that you see here, this is the biggest disadvantage. BCUs are used for local operation in a substation. In kiosk system, the BCUs are in kiosk. Hence, operating the control room is not possible in case of SCADA failure. So what we mean here is, we eliminated control panel and we kept something like this called as the bay control unit. So in this BCU, you can press buttons and operate the system. But what we did here, this entire panel is kept in the switchyard and the operator is sitting in the control room. So when there is a failure of a computer can fail anytime. If computer fails, next is local operation. He has to operate from the relay. But where is the relay? Relay is kept in the switchyard. This is the biggest challenge. So earlier we told that BCU is for local operation, but now that is removed from the operator. So just see this 400 kV switchyard areas like northern India, where especially, and nowadays why should we go for North India? Even in our place, Chennai, you have a lot of hot seasons. Like I think from March till June, it is very hot. So imagine the life of an operator. When the SCADA fails, he has to move from kiosk to kiosk because the operator has to write hourly reading. Every 1 hour, he has to write the reading in a book. This is automated now. SCADA is actually writing everything. He is not, all the manual work is eliminated. But SCADA has failed. Computer has failed. Now what? Your system is still running perfectly because relay has not failed. Only if relay fails, system is not permitted to operate because that is main protection. But if SCADA fails, SCADA is only control and monitoring. It is not important. It is not as important as relay. So when relay is in service, still we will continue to run the system. But what will happen? The operator has to run from kiosk to kiosk. So what I showed here is only one kiosk. You may have several kiosks in a bigger substation. So by the time he completes one circle, 1 hour will be over. So from morning to evening, he will be running from kiosk to note down hourly reading. The second example, that is during night time and rainy seasons, how he will manage this situation. Next example, this is how the kiosk looks. We already saw. This is the place where the cables enter. Okay, you can see what is happening inside the panel. Rats are using this as sanitation ground. They also bite the fiber optic cable. Why they do this? We cannot say why they do this. Okay, I will just give you an example. It's very hot outside. There is air conditioner inside. So animals also go inside. They also want to be happy. So they go inside, and then when they are searching for food, they bite the fiber optic cable. So all the redundancy that we discussed earlier, the different types of IEC standards, is not respected by the RAD, and once they bite this cable, what happens? The SCADA system may not receive the current and voltage values. So once current voltage is not coming there, anyway the operator cannot control the system, then he has to run to the kiosk to operate. Okay, let him go and operate. For that, what are the other challenges? So most of the time I used to take real photos. Normally it's not permitted in industries because if your system is in service, you cannot take any photos in industries. And real photos of these things, it's difficult to get. That's why I have put some cartoon images. In this, the worst thing is the center one, the down one. This is cable or a snake. So we really have to understand. There will be a confusion to check for the operator whether it is a cable or a snake, especially when it is night time, rainy season. And most importantly, most of the substations are located in a graveyard only, near a graveyard or previous days graveyard. The reason is government allots land only to substation, and government will allot a land which is not having any value. So a graveyard does not have any value. Even if somebody gives that place to someone as for free, they will not buy that place. They will not take that place because it's a land which is not treated in a good way by us. So that kind of land is actually cleaned and given to a substation, to construct a substation. Now imagine the life of an operator sitting alone, night, 12 o'clock, raining, dark, in a graveyard, and suddenly SCADA system failed. Now he has to go into the switchyard, open the kiosk, and there he is seeing something like this. So definitely he will not touch it. Even if he is sure that it is a cable, he will not go and work. So this is, just a funny way of looking at it, but it's not 100% funny. It's a reality. It is actually putting the life of the operators in danger. Therefore, any system or technology which is not providing the comfort that we expect is actually not a successful one. So during the time of theoretical implementation, this was a perfect solution. But after practical installation problems, the real life problems came in, and because of this, we were forced to move to a different technology. So that's where the kiosk system failed, and we had moved to a different technology. That is the process bus technology. Now, what is a process bus technology? It's very simple. Whatever disadvantage that we saw in kiosk has to be eliminated. Whatever advantages that we saw in kiosk, that has to be still there. So when we have a combination of these two, then we have the hard fiber technology. So let's see that. So here we call this as a merging unit. What you see here is a merging unit. So the architecture is going to be some simple like this. This is the merging unit, which we will keep it in the switchyard directly in the marshalling box like this. Yeah. Just look at this architecture. This is the compound wall. This is the switchyard. This is the control room. Here we have the numerical relays. So now what we did is we eliminated the kiosk and brought back the relays from the kiosk to the control room. This arrow mark is the copper cable. This is going to convert the copper analog value to digital value, and this fiber cable is an armored fiber optic cable which is connected to the cross connect panel, or you can say the Ethernet switch. From the Ethernet switch, this is fiber is connected here. Now there is another point here. This is black in color, but this is also fiber optic cable. This is not copper cable. This is armored, military standard armored fiber optic cable, so that the rats cannot bite. So what are the advantages? Now let us see. Copper cable is eliminated because this is also fiber optic cable only. Copper terminates in this arrow mark. Second, relays are kept in the control room itself. It is not kept in the kiosk, in the switchyard. Therefore, any failure, still the operator can operate from the relay, standing in front of it. He need not go to the switchyard. The failure of SCADA system cannot be prevented because computer can fail anytime. Maybe you can have redundancy. However, we have to design the system for worst case scenarios. So in that way, this kind of solution will provide a perfect advantages which we saw in the kiosk system, and also all the disadvantages which we saw in the earlier system has been overcome. So such a system is called as a smart substation, or since we are having everything in the digital form, like all the data is in digital form, therefore we call it as digital substations. Or all these things are implemented using 61850 standard. Therefore, we can call this as 61850 process bus solution. So there are different ways, but ultimately the solution remains the same. I complete with this slide, and I would be open for questions. So you can key in your questions and we can discuss.
Any questions from participant side?
Hello.
You can ask questions even later on. They can. Yeah. Tell.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. You can just introduce yourself and you can talk, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, madam. Good morning, sir. Hello, is it audible, please?
Yeah, you are audible.
So this is NMG Kumar from Vidyaniketan, Tirupati, sir. My question is that is it the cable? This cable which we are connecting, communication cable, cannot be bited by animals? If you see that copper cable or an aluminum cable, definitely it will be bited. But whereas the other one, hello.
Dinesh, sir, are you on the line? Hello.
I think he has taken off. Anyway, the problem is this is armored cable. That's what it is actually. Armored cable is very difficult. This is military standard armored cable, which is fiber optic cables, which are actually armored. So that it is very difficult to, bite and get in. The normal rats and other things which you described earlier, which cannot get into that. Unlike the ordinary copper cables, which is with PVC insulation and all that. This is a fiber optic cable with an armored cable. I hope I have answered your question. I am Dr. Sambandhan, advisor of KCG. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Sir, even power cable also is armored only, no, sir?
Yeah, power cable is
Especially
very difficult. No, power cable cannot be bitten by the rat and all that. That will be
Yeah.
electrocuted. No, that because power cable is a very high voltage cable. These are
Yeah.
all connecting control cables of a different nature. Control cable and power cable of different categories. Control cable, which is used in substation controls between CTs to the relay room,
Yeah.
between the battery and all that, they are all of a different category. They are not like power cable.
Yes.
So that they are all very 1000 volts graded, and insulation and all that is very simple. So only this
Yes,
problem
yes,
comes.
sir.
So that's why they have
Yes,
changed
sir.
over.
Yes, sir.
There's another question from Mr. Rudra Narayanan. Sir, you want to unmute yourself and ask the question? Rudra Narayanan, sir?
Yes. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please introduce yourself.
I am Rudhanarayan Pradhan. I am a research scholar at IIT Roorkee. So I had to know the difference between isolator and recloser in distribution system.
Isolator and?
Recloser. What is their applications?
See, isolator is an off, that is the power off device. You can switch off and on only when the line is dead. Reclosures, what you are talking is just it will switch on onto the hot line. But the line is energized. you can switch on, like a breaker.
Okay.
Reclosers, but they are not on the extra high voltage sections, but they are all on the distribution sections. But they can switch on to the hot line. Whereas isolator, by definition, it can only be operated when the line is dead.
Okay. So, sir, is there any difference between circuit breaker and recloser?
Circuit breaker and
Recloser.
the circuit breaker is also a recloser. Circuit breaker is generally like, it is in the main circuit to switch off and on when the line is, energized. And it also recloses. So it is a recloser. But in the recloser, what you mentioned, you asked earlier was that it's like an isolator, but it can operate online.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.